Sometimes getting the boat down to the boat ramp will be an easy task. Other days, it'll be a little more difficult, and sometimes you take a little bit of a less traditional approach, it'll be a downright chore. Just like some of the things we're going to witness in this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week.
Hey, Miss Scotty, how are you?
This must be the most popular guy at the beach because I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I have that many friends that I could ask to come down and help me move a boat like this, yet somehow our guy found a way to get this done, no trailer, and heck, nobody even seems to be complaining about it, but they just get the chore done.
Who's got the beer? Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely all earned an adult beverage on that one. Now, other times when you'll gather the boys to try and get the boat down to the ramp, it won't go quite as smooth as we just saw at the beach. And then, of course, there are those days you would give absolutely anything to get the boat just to the ramp. Kind of like this crew here, who had a little bit of a mishap out there on the lake, and the next thing they know, they wound up going down. Now, the real question in this situation, was it actually a mishap, or was the actual mishap the fact they weren't subscribed to this channel and the Drain Plug Mafia wound up striking on them? So make sure you hit that subscribe button to make sure it doesn't happen to you. This one's an interesting situation as well. Our crew here was out gonna enjoy a nice day at the beach when all of a sudden they caught something they didn't expect, which was this gentleman here who got caught in a rip current and was getting ripped out off the island. Fortunately, this boat came along. Several of the spectators said if it did not, there's no telling how this one would have ended. Now, so far this week, one of the things we've seen a lot is boaters helping boaters or good Samaritans out there giving people a hand, and we're going to stick with that theme for a little bit longer, as right here you can tell this is not a towboat in action. This is just Joe Public out there trying to help their boy get their boat righted, and somehow they wind up actually doing it. No clue if somebody on here is an actual certified tow captain, or they just said, I don't know, hold my beer and watch this, and went at it. Now, another real question on this situation, so this is just a normal boat with just normal cleats on the back. Is this a good idea to try and do this just off of basic cleats on the back of the boat? Let me know in the comments. I actually do have a tow endorsement on my captain's license, and I'm going to be 100% honest, I don't think this is something I would try from a regular vessel. And it wouldn't be another week of Boneheaded Boaters if we didn't have another Boat Gone Wild session, where this boat right here, apparently it's went ahead and decided it didn't want its owner anymore, kicked it out, and threw it in the water, and well, now it's doing its own thing. What's interesting is the ways we usually see this one handled is not like this. Typically, we'll see somebody try and get something tangled in the prop to kind of kill the motor, but this guy's decided he was going to take matters into his own hands and try and push it up onto the beach, but this doesn't go quite as planned.
Jump on it, dude. Come on, MacGyver.
Now, like we said, sometimes they'll toss lines in and try and tangle up the prop, but this guy decided to take that to a different world, as he's going to get the whole boat tangled in lines. What really confuses me on this one was who thought this was a good idea. I mean, there is no earthly way you had to think you were actually going to get through with this boat going anywhere sitting that tall.
I got it on video.
Now, I have a feeling this guy's going to be sitting there for a little while, kind of like this guy's been sitting here for a little while. One of those strange situations. Back the boat down, turn the boat on, I guess put it into reverse to try and help it get off the trailer, but he wasn't on the boat. In other words, it wouldn't quite come off the trailer, so he got back off, pushed it off while the boat was still in gear, and now we found ourselves in the situation that you see here. I don't know how I would approach this one. Let me know in the comments how you think you would handle this situation. Sure, the boat's going slow. Seems like it probably wouldn't be a big deal to maybe get in the water and try and approach it, but there is still a spinning prop there, and really the only way he's getting on this boat is from that rear deck. Like, where the prop is, that's where he's gonna have to get on. I think I'm more likely would have hung out on shore until the boat ran out of gas, somebody else with the boat showed up, or tried to get a line or something to see if I could get it to catch something on the boat. But here he's going to get exactly kind of what we just mentioned, the assist. At first I thought this pontoon was going to come over here and maybe try and grab the boat, but instead it decides it's going to go ahead and grab him. And in doing so, try and get him back over to the boat. I mean, I guess he really is pretty lucky this guy came along, because I don't think there was any world that this ended good by him trying to swim out to that boat and seeing if he's going to be able to get on. So the guy's grabbed him here though, and now gonna try and get him onto the boat. But man, I just don't understand how you set yourself up in this situation. I mean, maybe he forgot it was in gear when he got off trying to push the boat off, but this is one of the reasons why I say it all the time when I see people loading and unloading boats, leaving the motors on, leaving the boat in gear while they get off and try and do something. Just not the best plan. Things can go wrong, and obviously they sometimes do, but our guy's gonna try and chase this one down and see if he can get his dude over here onto the boat. Kind of a wild scene, coming in a little hot trying to get on this one. Now, sometimes the fun in boating isn't about trying to get on the boat. Sometimes the fun in boating is about getting off the boat, and finding interesting ways to get that done as well can be a fun one to watch also.
Her little setup she's got. How handy it is. Dad, a built-in little step. That is nice. Grandpa probably did that himself for her. Here's a step for you, Mom. Because that's what I had to do. I had to step off.
It really does eliminate one of the more complex moves they have to do in this boat. Now, don't get me wrong, she still has to get there, but where we see people get tripped up all the time is on that bow rail. So she's already successfully over it by the time they get to the dock versus trying to step over it and get off onto the dock and possibly tripping and falling at the dock. And then of course, falling at the dock can be a common thing, especially if you wind up forgetting the drain plug, kind of like this crew wound up doing, or like our next crew wound up doing as well, as they go ahead and do what I call the drain plug scramble. That's right. Once you figure out you've forgotten the drain plug, it's that scramble to get this thing back on the boat as quick as possible before she goes down. I mean, do we think having the fenders out is going to help at all? Maybe it adds a little extra flotation so these guys can try and keep it afloat a little longer, but one thing it will do is probably get caught on those guy pulls as they're trying to get it on and make this a little more difficult. But the good news is they are to the trailer, and things should go okay from here as they try and get this thing out. But thanks for watching, crew. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening on your waterways, be sure to hit us up on Facebook or Instagram and let us know, and you might see your stories over here. Just like Aisa Guerrera, Alan Johnson, Abe Handel, April Taylor, Kelly Stiles, Mason Price, Scott Trask, and Adam Coolidge did this week. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here.